If you are sitting comfortably, then I shall begin to read the wondrous tale of Ian, the 8th Norwich, and Rona. It was the 24th of July and the 8th Norwich Sea Scouts were on the ferry to Jersey. It was the summer camp time. Scouts ran rampant across the ferry. The young leaders were fast asleep, ignoring everything. And Chris and Anya, well, they were on the top deck, throwing up over the side. It was a calm, sunny day, and everyone looked forward to 2 weeks of good shenanigans. Suddenly, the sky turned dark. Wind filled the air, clouds covered the sun, and it started to rain. A storm was brewing, and it was the biggest ever. Everyone rushed inside for shelter when a giant, gross, slimy, purple, sticky, ginormous tentacle whacked the window with a tremendous thud, squelching as it did so. It wriggled its way through an open window and wrapped its slimy end around Chris, grabbing him and throwing him over the horizon out of sight. The last I heard was him in the distant, trailing voice screaming out, "It's Rona!" The scouts turned to Anya. "Rona?" they asked, quite confused. "It's the evil Octopus, determined to stop all fun things from happening this summer," screamed Anya in reply, desperately trying to evade another tentacle that had smashed through the window. It grabbed her and threw her in the same direction that it had thrown Chris. Mark, mad with rage, jumped into the sea after her, and it was just Ian left, trying to keep control. Yes, I know what you're thinking. Meanwhile, the lazy young leaders were still sleeping through it all, and slowly, one by one, they were picked up by Rona's sliming, oozing tentacles and thrown out of the window. Out went Henry, Louisa, Alice, Ellie, Milton, Natalie, Betsy, Josh. Adam and James had not, of course, been late for the ferry and were not there. Ian was keeping calm, telling the scouts not to panic while they ran around in circles like headless chickens, desperate to avoid the many frailing tentacles that Rona had splurged onto the ferry. Ian could do nothing but watch as groups of scouts were gathered up by the squelching tentacles of Rona and flung high into the air, only to fall into the wide open mouth and sliding down its grim, gross, greasy gullet. However, Rona gagged on the awful taste of the smelly scouts and spat them out like cannonballs from a pirate ship far into the distance. Now it was just Ian left on deck. As the waves crashed over him, the rain lashed down and lightning thundered overhead. He picked up his kayak paddle and charged at the giant octopus with a steely look in his eye. We've all seen that look, haven't we? Rona wrapped his large, squishy, purple tentacle around Ian's waist and picked him up, bringing them to eye level. Ian jammed his paddle right in Rona's large, bloodshot eye. The octopus let out a primal, guttural scream and dropped in straight into the sea, flailing tentacles everywhere. Rona crashed about, sinking beneath the waves, leaving Ian barely floating on the surface. As quickly as it began, the storm cleared. The sky was sunny and blue again. Ian breathed a sigh of relief. Phew, he thought. How could have anyone been prepared for that? As he bobbed up and down, slowly kicking his way back to the shore, he failed to notice the dark shadow swimming beneath him. In one single movement, a huge whale breached the surface, swallowing Ian in one large gulp. Grumpily, Ian sat in the whale's mouth, feeling the damp, squishy tongue beneath his feet. For days he sat in that mouth, wondering what should he do now. He was hungry and he was thirsty, but it was too stinky to sleep. One day, though, the whale sneezed, launching Ian high into the air, right out of the blowhole in a tornado of limbs, before he crash landed on the beach of a deserted island. Groaning, he sat up and immediately flopped back down again, noticing that he was not alone. For Rona had sent the scouts, young leaders and leaders. They had landed on the desert island and had set up a new camp, determined to enjoy their summer without parents. Rona was not seen in or around the camp again, for Ian and his mighty kayak paddle had seen him off for good. Have a good camp, everyone.